Hi everyone, and welcome to I want to say, winners quarters match between Paum and homothety. This will be a race, and it should be pretty good. The board itself, we've just got up now. Obviously, this is a lockout tournament, so it'll be 1st to 13 if you haven't seen any of the previous races. I'm joined here by Quacksilver.
Hello. And yeah, you would expect this to be a winners quarters or even later in the bracket, but actually both of these runners suffering early upsets relative to their seeding. So we are playing for elimination in this race, with two, relatively speaking, titans of Hollow Knight Randomizer already fighting for their bracket lives. I'm very excited for this game.
Yeah, I mean, homothety, long regarded the best, or tied with Kana as best randomizer racer for, like I say, a long time. He won the Rando 2 tournament about a year and a half ago when that was a thing. So, there's a lot of legacy he has going into it. So to see him in losers bracket so early on is definitely a bit shocking to people that maybe haven't been following it as recently. Suffering a loss to Mthulu, I think,
Yeah.
in pretty surprising fashion. But yeah, we'll see which one isn't able to stay in winners bracket. Stay in, playing for elimination, of course. Paum choosing to skip Fury, which will give him an advantage on early goals, but if there is something like dash at Fury, he's losing a ton. Just a white fragment, so that's the basically best possible outcome
Still
for
have to see.
Paum, and a
And oh,
staggering dream ale.
and Queen's Garden Stag in particular, that makes this goal essentially free for Paum if he rushes it. So for the first time in Hollow Knight Rando tourney history, I think, skipping Fury looks like it's paying off for Paum.
Yeah, well, I mean, Paum skipped Fury against Mickley in pools, and it was dash, so this is definitely a much more beneficial outcome than last time. Homothety skipping the QG stag, maybe not thinking that he's going to be able to win that race. Never mind. Homothety realizing it's on the board and going back for it.
Interesting. So he probably knows he's behind on this goal then. Homothety, a good player at reading the opponent's position. So when Paum marks this in relatively short order, it may tip him off that Paum skipped Fury.
Yeah, I mean, that probably won't mean too much, just because he does know that Fury's a white fragment, so he just knows that he'll be at a slight disadvantage, and it wouldn't be surprising to see him rotate to the opposite of Shops and False Knight of what he thinks Paum's going to do, just so that he is the first to some new checks, because otherwise you can get into this rhythm of basically following your opponent everywhere, and you can't actually get a lead because you're always one step behind. Whereas if you can break away from what your opponent's doing, you're able to actually catch up and, hopefully find some progression that your opponent might not get for a while, and use that as your in to get back ahead.
So Paum with the early rush there, going to have the advantage of that one goal lead. But looks like in terms of early movement, just a Dirtmouth Stag check ahead of Homothety here, as both of them opt to skip Great Slash.
Yep, and Pullman going up to False Knight. Yep, is going up to False Knight. I didn't get baited. So depending on where Homothety goes, because this is medium logic, the shade skip to Salubra is potentially required, and it does add a bit of expected value to Shops, just because it has chance of being logical progression, plus it has chance of being required. So you're not just losing a bunch of time. But that said, Homothety will choose to go to False Knight, so he will be following Paum for about a minute here.
This board is fairly static. You've got a lot of things, it looks like, that are gated by C-dash, or some clever uses of not C-dash in Crystal Peaks Elevator, Glowing Womb, and Check Shio. So a lot of progression gated things. So the shops play early is a hard call to make. So even with this couple second deficit on entering the False Knight fight, I think homothety is just trying to get out of Crossroads at this point.
Yeah, that's definitely the aim of the game at this point. This is a pretty snowbally board if you get the right progression, so it'll be interesting to see who can get that lead and hold on to it. The part of Lockout strategy that's kind of not mentioned a ton is when you do get that progression lead, trying to do the goals that will first become available to your opponent just to try and lock them out of any potential chance at a comeback. And just a charm notch at False Knight there, which is progress towards the 6 charm notch goal.
And it's worth noting that we already have a pretty severe need for Geo. There are 2 goals that are already theoretically available to both runners, only gated by Geo. That's Buyout Salubra, as well as the 6 map pins with the Dream Nail already at a Zelda. So the sooner they can get to right side, or otherwise luck their way into some early Geo deposits, the better they will be able to cut off their opponent from getting too many goals on this board.
Yeah, for sure. And Paum electing to check shops now, it looks like. Yep. So this is, kind of the play you expect, especially with some random charm goals on the board. Shops are just statistically quite likely to pay off. Unfortunately, we don't have wraiths, so we can't see a boulder shell chair. But they might have to remember to come back to that one later.
It looks like our first major divergence of the run, ignoring the Fury skip. Homothety going to check grubs early, I'm assuming this play is?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a good one. It sort of separates the runners a bit and gives Homothety a bit of information. It'll either pay off and be their way out of Crossroads, or it could be something that he knows that he needs to farm grubs for and come back to later, which just allows for more efficient routing. Or it could just be a bust, which is what it's looking like now. Oh, no, 9 grubs.
Catch at 9.
Literally the last chat.
Yeah, that's...
unfortunately taking a death there. These are quite good runners, but obviously a bit of rust showing through now.
Well, Paum struggles to recover from that death. Homothety, it looks like, is starting to go Mask Shard check, is what I'm imagining this is. We are on medium logic, so this is a logical check. One that takes a while, to be sure.
I remember when Go Marshard was a spicy skit.
Paum also doing a good job of farming grubs on his way to these shops checks. While Homothety has the information advantage, he still has no grubs to his name.
Yeah, it's definitely a smart play to at least sort of grab the grubs that are on the way while you're working, until you check it, and that's Grimchild. Okay, so that is one more check, and is there anything on this board? Not that I'm aware of. Paum, what are you doing? That is one way to do it.
And Paum having a little bit of difficulty herding his shade around, as Grimchild, funny as it is to find it early, is going to be a bust for Homothety.
Shaman Dreamwielder.
Vanilla Shaman Stone.
So we should see a slide check now. Yep.
I believe that's our last way out of Crossroads, because there's nothing else that it could be. 9 grubs is too many, and that distant village stag, they're both going to have to farm some Geo for that.
Wow, this is really a Geo seed.
Wow. So Homothety's early equipping of Unbreakable Greed may be paying off for him. Although it looked like it wasn't too many cycles of farming these big husks to buy that DV stag.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't hate to see Paum getting the rest of the grubs in Crossroads and checking Grubfather, because it's 50 Geo or so, and it gives you just that slight information catch up. and it's, achieving something a bit more tangible than, haha, I'm killing one guard. Oh, never mind. DV stags, super cheap.
It also looked like there was a goal right below DV Stag in that looked like Wayward Compass in the shop there. So Seed really wants you to get some money, especially if it's like Claw or another dash at the Distant Village Stag itself, which requires another 250 geo. This could be a very notable poverty seed.
Yeah, for sure. This is really tight, especially if the next progression's actually at Distant Village Stag instead of the first check in Beast Den.
Yeah, normally
in which case
you're a little.
You might see like 4 more kills of that one enemy.
Normally you're like a little bit upset to have things. Oh, steady
body first. I guess he is assuming that progression's at grubs or something.
So he's going to be late to whatever is there. Usually you hope that when you go to Distant Village early on, you hope that whatever you need is at the Stag, because that Beast End check takes a long time. But if you are stuck in Crossroads and you only have 15 geo to your name, bet you're hoping for progression at that first check in Beast Den instead.
Yeah, so let's say I think he thought that it might be at... he might do Mark Pride boulders to get out, just because it does save that geo farming. You can sort of get the money you need in Green Path pretty easy.
And that is a spicy skip, or it's a hard logic boulder killer.
But, Paum's pretty comfortable with it, being a having raced hard logic for the majority of the time he's been playing rando.
And Paum making the read that he missed Fury. Yeah. That's unfortunate. That's going to be a major time loss for Paum.
And homothety getting that Mark of Pride. If you're Paum, I feel like you're getting Geo Rocks along the way, though, just because you are really feeling that lack of Geo. Typically for rando, Geo sources are considered worthwhile if it gets you about 1 Geo a second, and so that, like, by default just means Geo Rocks are super worth, because especially ones where it's literally on the way, you're getting about 4 to 5 Geo a second.
So worth noting, the Stag itself was just a mask shard, so I believe the last logical check is this first check in Beast Den. If it's Claw or Dash, this is huge. If it's just a Boulder Killer, that's a lot less big a deal, because Paum could theoretically make that up with Mark of Pride quickly.
Yeah, if this is like... it looks like Paum's just gonna farm the Geo. Yeah, so he'll be staying in logic. It's just a bit painful to have to kill this guy like 7 times before you even get to leave Crossroads. VS.
It's VS.
So it is a boulder killer. And notably, fireball skips are not in logic, so it will literally only be useful as a boulder killer, and to as part of like the boss macro.
It is also, as opposed to Mark of Pride, the one distinction that VS has is it being a spell puts Moloch in logic right now. Which is not necessarily trivial, but it looks like homothety going to skip that right away. He's already got Grimchild equipped. I'm assuming this is going to be the rush for killing 3 Umas with a minion charm.
So the real question is, what do you do now, and why is it Great Hopper percent Shade Skip to rise?
That is definitely not in medium logic. I bet it's not in any logic.
That is not in any logic.
Great Hopper percent being a very special category.
Special meaning literally the worst. And Paum going to be getting his stag, so he will be about a minute behind here, but...
Imagine if the progression was at the stag.
Homothety, being a low percent runner, knows his way through here with only Fireball. So we're going to see some zoom here. We should see Grass Block skip coming up. This is honestly like 5 times better than Underplat. Yeah, there we go. Electing to cut it down. It's a good backup, but losing a tiny bit of time and or swag.
He's also skipping the grub saves. These are pretty easy grubs to save and on his way, and with knowledge of that dash at 9 grubs, it shows that he's really focusing in on this goal, so you may think Paum is like right behind him.
Yeah, I mean, he knows that Paum saw the shop so much earlier than him, but maybe just didn't expect him to buy Steady Body even when he's at that massive geo deficit. Whereas, you know, as we know, having bought that, he's put himself really far behind. This for Homothety, Grimchild, so it's probably 3 Umas, which is why he's rushing it to Fog Canyon, plus he'll get himself the bench in Queen Station. Is there /2 Shade Gates on the board?
He's just taking a safer path. No. And Grimchild's some target practice.
Oh my god, Grimchild. Please hit once.
Oh wow, that snipe from all the way downtown.
This is the worst Grimchild I have ever seen in my life. What the hell? Alright, Paum. Checking Soul Catcher there and getting a Dreamer. So that will not be in logic, but it does open up a lot of outer logic stuff.
And smart play from Paum to go out of his way there.
I can only assume that's, yeah. And Cyclone for Homothety, so a boulder killer that's not boring.
And also 2 of the 3 nail arts already seen.
True. Do we have any nail art related goals? No. Typical.
Wouldn't be that easy.
Ivory Jaybird. The Dreamer is the duplicate Dreamer, so it can count towards the 3 you need to open the Black Egg Temple, but it also causes the Crossroads to get infected, so you end up with skips like the Infected Vengefly Pogo to Blue Lake being doable. Probably gonna take a death there getting that grub, unfortunately.
That one definitely not intentional.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Homothety finding Claw at Queen
Station.
So it was a stag, it just wasn't the obvious easy one. And that puts a whole bunch of stuff in logic. That puts Cliffs in logic, and by extension, with DV stag this early, Carefree Melody is already theoretically accessible. It also puts all of right side in logic by way of the claw only shade skip in medium. It is, although it is a subject of some dissent from some runners. It remains in medium for the time being, and most accessibly, it puts kill 2 different maggots in logic, so Homothety gonna mark that quickly and let Paum know that he's missed something major.
And Paum gonna be heading into Green Path now though, so probably just following on the path of progression, just because especially these in medium seeds, until you get vertical, they tend to be quite linear.
And I like this from Homothety. It looks like he's holding on to the goal until he can make his way towards Salubra and towards setting up the shade skip to right side, taking a safe bet that he's ahead of Paum on this particular route because of that obtain steady body mark early.
Yeah, definitely a good hold. We haven't seen a ton of holding in tournament, but this is definitely the way to do it. And yeah, Paum unfortunately going to be making the play for upper Green Path, showcasing a Fireball skip there, which isn't in logic and doesn't actually unlock new items, but saves a bit of time.
And yeah, as soon as Homothety dies, he marks two maggots, give himself as much of an advantage on right side as he possibly can.
Paum, you know that enemy pogo. Missoula pointing out that Claw is 120 geo, which at present Paum is unable to afford. Especially having not grabbed his shade.
I mean, upper green path is pretty good on Geo, so if he wants to play with that in mind, he should be able to make up the difference pretty effectively here. I think the bigger question is how long before he thinks to check all the way down to Queen Station.
Yeah, I think it'll happen pretty soon after this. I don't see him doing the shade skip to Boulder Shell or Moss Charger before Queen Station. It's just that upper green path's slow, but he will get some grubs towards dash, which is quite nice.
Homothety having found his way to right side. Looks like he's skipping maybe the gauntlet above King Station for right now. I believe is in logic with just one spell, but it takes a long time, and he has no guarantee that Paum's not on his tail right now, so I like this getting rewarded with a dive.
Which is pretty big, actually. It gives you like that early peak access, makes a couple of... Are there any dive-related goals? I guess it helps the White Defender, but actually not as useful as dive historically has been. So
and
that's probably
because why not King's Brand at King's Station? Further cementing the Abyss is the place to be. If there weren't a dash at Grubs, I'd say that's where our first intended dash was going to be.
Alright, so it's wings at Birthplace then, right? Paum showing off a pretty nice Hornet fight.
Yeah, really fast damage rotation there. That's the Aluva percent runner we know and love.
Yeah.
Homothety also getting some Geo himself. It looks like, if memory serves, they're both pretty low on relics. Crossroads was mostly full of eggs, so for that buy out Salubra and spend 4k gold, anything you can do.
Arcane Egg at Zelda for pretty cheap. So if one of them remembers to go back and get that, they will be getting some of those stonks.
Homothety getting his Geo and then warping back out to Green Path. The only novel check that this claw affords him is the journal underneath Stone Sanctuary, which I don't think is a goal.
And Howling Race, I guess, but that's pretty slow. Sprint Master.
Could be rewarded with some light zoomies.
And Paum starting to find the correct progression chain here. Homothety killing Moss Charger for the Geo.
It looks like Homothety is eyeing these Geo-related goals as a means to keep Paum from getting back into this as soon as he gets his claw. Although, yeah, I agree with chat. Visit Soul Sanctum or Royal Waterways on the board, and Homothety was sort of in that area already.
I imagine he'll put off the Sanctum until he can justify a Lem visit, so he'll get the egg here, I assume, and then get Sanctum as well. Egg and there's King's Idol. I know, I'm just gonna buy out. So he might think that Paum is closer than he actually is, because if you think you've got a lead, you would probably do a Lem trip first, just so you don't kind of soft lock yourself on Geo.
Yeah, I believe that was only 5 there, so still a little ways away.
Yeah, that's really not the best play.
Looks like homothety is also...
obviously, it's a lot easier to say that from the commentator's perspective, where you know where the other person is. Paum, did he check Queen Station?
I don't think he's been there quite yet. So this is just a seed that does not love those big husks. I'm assuming this is going to be the uppermost grub and another 50 geo for homothety to secure that last map pin and consequently the goal.
Yeah, like I say, it's just unfortunate because homothety's put himself in a position now where he can't just he can't bounce back to that 2k geo mark as easily as if he had bought relics, done a lem trip, and then bought possibly both geo goals. Unfortunately, we don't have C dash, so Myla will live to see another day.
And at this rate, C dash is in the abyss, so who knows if we'll see it again. But homothety going ahead and grabbing these early peaks checks. Nailmaster's Glory is not on the board, I believe. But still some useful things as Paum finally picks up his Mantis Claw.
And Tifel or Tifel, autopilot is the Helleness seal near the lifeblood just left of Queen Station on the way to Howling Wraiths. It's called autopilot because people autopilot past it on the way down to Queen Station, and it ends up being progression, and it's like the last thing they check because they forgot it and they feel really stupid. It's kind of earned a reputation and not a good one. Tier for homothety there.
So that's a couple more things opened up, but not massively. That gets you like Love Key and the QG egg uniquely.
It gives you logical Legato and stuff before dash.
Would Claw not give you that as well?
You need... That would require quick... Oh no, you have Claw. Yeah, never mind. No, in that case, yeah, get you like QG egg. Isma's really just being the most useless charm in the game.
Yeah, once you've already got vertical, especially if you've got like vertical like Claw C dash or some other of the more inventive ways runners over time have devised to skip acid, it really does not amount to much.
Yeah, it is also the antithesis of fun, making a lot of really fun skips impossible because you have tier, you can just swim through the acid. So it's definitely the optimal play to forego it where possible. Homothety getting kind of bullied by these enemies, but getting through.
Well, we've seen a lot of vessel fragments. I'm surprised neither runner has an extra soul vessel at this point. These checks for Paum are new. The staying left side gets him a couple more easy grubs, although homothety sort of turned his nose up at the easy King Station grubs.
And this should be Soul Sanctum from Homothety in the next about minute.
Grub Song is a cute charm to have. There's also no bad charms to grab while there are still have 6 charm notches on the board, and it looks like that's what Paum's thinking.
So that will be a goal for him. There we go. And it's 9 grubs for dash, so he definitely has access to 9, it's just a matter of doing them.
Both runners at 6, so that whoever decides to go for that first, which it looks like it's Paum, will have market advantage for a while.
Yeah, this should hopefully let Paum catch up some of the deficit he did have as Homothety marks that enter Soul Sanctum.
And Homothety continuing into Soul Sanctum. You know, you got a couple of checks that way. There's the opportunity for a few relatively quick ones, especially with the nail art, to skip this horrible room. But as soon as Paum gets dash, that's open the Crystal Peaks check, or open the Crystal Peaks chest rather, and as well as rescue Zoten Deep Nest, and if he wants it with dash and an air stall, theoretically even check Glowing Womb. So I am surprised to see Homothety staying on this path rather than pivoting for that dash.
Yeah, this is very slow, made much faster by dash, and Paum, Void Tendril's journal entry, so as soon as he gets that Shade Cloak, he'll be able to mark that. That's some smart routing getting that while doing those 2 runs.
Chad also correcting me, Paum not having a way into Crystal Peaks just yet, but the creative dash is still probably worth it for a lot of these checks. And Paum, thinking of the other elusive and named relic, come back here, named because of the bullying in Petras.
Yeah, I think it was a 3-way co-op between Kanra, Paum, and myself, and it was claw at that relic, and it was just hell. That was one of the original at Rando Man fictional rando complaints. And that is 9 grubs for Paum.
Lantern.
Showing off a very nice Soul Master fight, plus Lantern, so now he has 2 ways into Crystal Peak, and Paum still has 0. Homothety probably a bit disappointed just because he now no longer has to do Dark Deep Nest. Or I mean, in his case, it's probably no longer gets to do Dark Deep Nest. But...
yeah, a turn of phrase reserved for a very few specific runners. But other than that Lantern, which to players of this caliber is not so much an upgrade as just an incidental, Homothety kind of striking out in Soul Sanctum while Paum picks up that dash. So I'm curious to see where he goes next.
Homothety nailing that fake dive as well. That is not an easy trick. There is many a copypasta about it being a fake trick made up so world record holders can keep their titles.
Alright, Homothety with 8 grubs.
Yeah, definitely just thinking about the grubs, but I'm going to check Glowing Womb by the look of it. I respect this, except it's a lot more respectable when you actually do it. Don't lose your shade. That was confident there.
Yeah. Go in for that spike tunnel at
1
HP
without your shade.
1200 Geo to boot with spend Geo and buyout goals still on the board. That is some confidence right there.
That is the kind of content that this tournament's about. Just no sense of self-preservation.
Hey, sometimes you make plays that can decide the game for or against you.
Yeah. You know, who needs a risk-reward skewed in your favor? Just do a whole bunch of 50-50s that basically softlock you if you fail, and have very minimal payoff if you succeed.
Alright, and
just a
homothety,
paloric glowing loom.
homothety checking grubs again long enough to not waste time and energy going for this glowing womb goal. Paum gonna tie it up.
Yeah, that's good identifying what goals are available to you. And Paum, you don't need to do this. You have infection.
And yeah, with that dash and the bench at Crystal Peaks, homothety instantly turning back around and heading for Open the Sea Peaks chest, which was also available in theory. Paum only now going to discover probably one, but not both of the ways into Crystal Peaks.
So, yeah, the shades gets quicker, but doesn't he still not have his shade? Like, he just lost a bunch of geo. Homothety kind of getting bullied by those crystal crawlers, but getting through pretty fine. I thought it was like 300. If it was 50, then yeah, understandable. Have a great day. And shop key hit for homothety, almost vanilla.
Always nice to pick up.
Not gonna check the actual shop key location. Just going straight for that geo chest.
This is goal tunneling at its finest as Paum finally picks up his dive. Might actually
work out to Paum's benefit, just because it means that he'll find out Mothie is in peak quite soon, and he won't get baited into getting halfway into peak before he marks that goal.
And it's another dash.
So that gives Mothie access to Void Tendrils, Journal Entry, Cloth Quest Line, and that's it. But 2 goals, one of them being pretty quick as well.
So hey, at least with the goal on the board, we will be getting use out of our King's brand, and it looks like Paum is turning right around and heading back for some of those Geo goals. With just the relics that he bought, that's enough to get spend 4k easily, and I don't recall Salubra being like that expensive.
Yeah, I think it was a 2,000 or 3,000, but he'll have that from relics. So this is something that I really like from Paum. Just having the presence of mind to go back, get those high value relics, and get those easy shop goals. They're just a really solid way to start making a comeback, and you know, they're free goals. You know, the whole meme about it's free real estate, but it is actually really good. It's effective, it's, you know, very little time, and it's like 2 free goals. You really can't argue with it. Plus, buying out Salubra, you're gonna get those little items like your Marshard, your Vessel Fragments, that sort of thing. So it does give you a slight power up, which is nice as well.
Yeah, and I recall Dream Wielder also at Salubra, which is a charm that a lot of runners like to have.
Yeah, especially Failed Champion, not on this board, but boards that do have Failed Champion, it is really nice. And Mothie checking the Conga Lion relic, named because those crystal crawlers are in the Conga Line. It's, you know, not super hard to figure out where the name came from, but one of the more fun names. And we're going to see an underplat here. Even better, Mothie Fireball without the Fireball. No.
Mothie, definitely a man of the content.
Wow. Messing up the cycle there.
Or not.
Just leaving. I mean, that rune's actually impossible as soon as you're off the cycle, so kind of just baiting Locust there.
And this is instead going to be the runaround to Fungal, which we have not actually seen much of for either runner, although homothety may just be making a flyby on his way to rescue Zote and Deep Nest, one of the other most accessible goals on the board.
Yeah, it's definitely a surprise that it's been available for so long, just because it gives you access to a pretty solid area as well. Looks like Paum is... Actually, where is Paum going? Oh, he's going to be getting Void Tendrils. No, he doesn't have Shade Cloak.
Yeah, I think this was actually... He just sat at the bench at King Station and then warped away immediately, so I think this was actually his first time checking out this area.
Yeah, interesting.
Something else I am interested in seeing in the short term, now that it is accessible and technically logical as well, is that Grim fight for homothety. I don't think Paum actually has Grimchild yet, but
Yeah,
Carefree Melody on the board and all the
doing it
pieces
without
for it
a
around.
upgraded spell. If he feels like he can sort of win on the rest of the stuff, it's a pretty big investment for one goal.
Until the third nail art is at the Grim fight, of course, with wings at NMG. Paum also picking up his second Dreamer, bringing his Dreamer lead up to 2-0, which is relevant on this board with Defeat White Defender as our tiebreaker.
Cursed statement, but Check Shio is also available at the moment, if you're willing to pogo a Shade Fireball.
My money's on the Grim fight before that.
I have no idea why.
Paum heading over to Kingdom's Edge. It looks like he's just in check mode right now. A lot of stuff left on the board is gated by something. Shio, assuming you don't do it cursed, wants Wings or C-Dash. There's also Pale Lurker over here, but that's another fight that without upgraded spells, it's a bit of an investment.
Yeah, I mean, at least he has Dash, so it's not too bad. Paum maybe a little uninformed here that you don't need the Aspid past the first pogo when you have Claw and Cloak. You can do those weird wall jumps off the terrain. And a collector's map. Unfortunately, that isn't one of the random goals.
And homothety going to save Zote and set up for that Colosseum goal down the line. And immediately grabbed his Kingsbrand, and it looks like we're getting some Abyss content.
Yep,
Nope. The Kingdom's Edge race.
Oh, alright, so they're probably both going for Lurker, and just Edge is pretty dense at this point. So this is a bit of a lucky break for Paum, just because it means that homothety will basically be following in his footsteps for a good minute and a half.
Homothety getting his first Dreamer here, which is not nothing. Homothety also with Isma's gives him a faster means to get up to Pale Lurker, so cutting off some of that time that Paum spent getting up here, but Paum still pretty far in the lead. It would take some flubs on the fight itself, especially since homothety's going over for the camp bench, it looks like. So this goal should be Paum's.
I'm incapable of reading, so this will probably end up just being a trade because homothety will get Colozote and Wings for Paum. Okay, so that's very nice.
Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot that could, even if Paum marks Pale Lurker, even if Paum marks Pale Lurker, homothety's still probably going to head in that direction for Colozote to grab that bench, so should have Wings in short order here.
Yeah. Really, it's not too bad though, just because Colozote is quite slow, so he'll at least have a few minutes to get any checks he can, and sort of just try and get some progression up on homothety before he does finish it.
there's everyone's favorite voice clip in the game.
And a compass for Paum. That rando goal.
All right, extending his lead even further. Pale Lurker, famously one of the only things in the game, along with a couple other random incidental background noises that will always play at max volume, no matter what your volume settings are, making him a fun wakefulness check whenever he shows up on stream.
It's like single-handedly the reason why a lot of people have their game volume set to like max in game and then balance it outside of the game, just because it ends up like having these random really loud like false night and grass and pale lurker sounds. A vanilla check at homothety. Unfortunately he will not be checking it himself, so we will be unable to, you know, he won't have that sense of, wow, this is my fault. But regardless, Paum will be checking Shio now with his newfound wings.
And
a really big swing for Paum here.
And it looks like homothety also running in that direction, but going to be just a bit late.
Yeah, this is the best thing you could hope for, is Paum. Homothety sort of following in your footsteps, about, you know, that one step behind. Homothety is still up Shade Cloak though, which is actually quite big.
Yeah, for a lot of the late game stuff, except for White Defender, which Paum still has the advantage on. But unfortunately, Homothety's Sprint Master not going to be enough to make up the difference, and we saw Dash Master in Call Out too. So this goal will be Paum's.
I'm gonna skip the rant stag, just check Shio first, which is probably a good choice. And it is... oh, Crystal Heart, that's
oh my
huge.
god, that's massive.
Especially if Mothty gives up. I think he's far enough now that he won't. But regardless, like... oh, and Shade Soul, wow. So Paum probably going to be zooming off, opening that Crystal Peaks elevator. Yep. And Homothety will get slightly sniped on this one as well. So this is sort of what I was saying, like it can be so detrimental being that just tiny bit behind.
Yeah, and Paum all of a sudden within spitting distance of the goal here, and Homothety having warped away immediately, not getting his Shade Soul, which would make a lot of these later fights much more bearable.
Yeah, so Paum's got a huge damage advantage with Shade Soul Shaman now. And that is his third Dreamer as well. So that is White Defender access. But I suspect he will do a few quick wings checks and stuff beforehand, just because you probably want to end on White Defender, because it's very slow.
Meanwhile, Homothety heading down to Basin. I'm assuming this is going to be Void Tendrils.
Yeah. Just pushing that Shade Cloak advantage, because at that point it's basically what you've got to do to try and stay in the game.
Yeah, Paum ends this. Paum has a static path to victory at this point with his 3 Dreamers, and does he? Oh, he needs.
Technically,
he needs
I guess if you want to kill Colozo.
And he needs Shade Cloak.
He needs another simple key or to get Grimchild, and even like really you want the simple key or 2 simple keys really.
So Paum at least has that simple key advantage. Simple key and damage advantage is going to be huge. Homothety at this point just looks like has to hope that the other dashes are buried. Yeah.
Homothety at this point is probably hoping for something at Trader Lord, because he's setting up for that cloth quest, and unless you have a goal reason to go there, Trader Lord is just terrible.
Yeah, if you don't have, they're like
leg eating yet.
Neither runner actually has.
Yeah. So now we have a logical black egg and
Incredible.
a big dark for Paum.
And homothety starting up Kala 1.
Alex, the Shade Soul was Shio egg.
So homothety going to be taking a couple minutes now to run through this Kala 1. He did not buy Shaman from Salubra at any point. I'm pretty sure he checked Salubra before heading to right side, but that's also going to increase the time. And Paum, with the very high IQ play here, going to snag this Grimchild and probably be able to get Carefree Melody out from under homothety here.
Paum may be not aware that this is a spoiler log off tournament, but doing a good job of it regardless. Homothety, but probably worth noting, has run Zone percent, so he is pretty comfortable with this Colosseum with VS as like your only source of damage. So he shouldn't take too much, damage. He shouldn't be too worried about dying. It'll just be how quick he can go. And that's sort of become apparent already. He's making pretty quick work of the enemies.
As Paum gonna start the fight with the best music in the game.
And Paum having his Shade Soul Shaman as well, so he will make very quick work of this. He still doesn't have a Dream Nail, so he is unable to Dream Nail him as the fight starts.
Which is surprising considering the Dream Nail literally out of Zelda.
Yeah. After this, I think you check Waterways and set up Flight Defender, and then Waterways is all new checks, so there's a decent chance that Waterways has something decent. Plus it's all pretty quick.
The Paum taking a couple unnecessary hits on this Grim fight. It's a pretty well timed out battle, so he's not going to lose a whole lot of time, although a death would be massively unfortunate, as homothety is at, looks like about the halfway mark of the Colosseum.
Could you politely not? Thank you. Unfortunately, each time you have to heal, you are missing out on the Shade Soul or D-Dark worth of damage, which is not to be taken lightly. So yeah, he does want to minimize healing as much as possible. So you'll probably see him hovering around that 2 health kind of margin, just it gives you a little bit of wiggle room, but also you're not wasting that extra soul on healing up health you won't need.
And homothety, wow, with some incredible dodges on those Kalo enemies.
Yeah.
Your point about him running Zote percent is definitely ringing true. And yeah, that was a pretty fast Grim fight on the other screen.
And Paum bowing to Grim, truly the correct play. Thanks, chat, for the bless yous.
That's looking out.
Awesome. And another
white
for Paum,
fragment.
so that is that birthplace access. But as where is he going? You have distant village stag, or you can go through this terrible gauntlet.
Yeah, after all of the grinding for Geo and sort of general early game suffering to get to DB Stag in the first place, very surprised that Paum is not remembering DB Stag this time.
he might be checking Love Key on the way, but like, why?
I mean, this arena isn't too bad once you've got Shaman Shade Soul.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you have the stack.
Yeah, I don't know either. Good guy Grimchild coming in with an extra little damage spike.
Yeah,
So
well, I mean, if Grimchild hits a Petra and you Shade Soul it, that will kill it, which is actually kind of helpful because Petras on this patch have 45 health instead of 40, so you can't just one-shot them with Shade Soul like you can on 1221, which is the main NMG speedrun patch. And Lofty finishing up that Zote Colo, like I say, super clean. That big brain Zote percent really coming in clutch.
And back at Salubra.
And finally getting Shaman after doing the several minute long Colosseum. Classic.
Very, very content driven. And this looks like the just too late Grim fight. Oh, he's in QG. He's gonna head for Trader Lord. Alright, yeah. Homothety serving us up all of the boss content.
This Trader Lord, very linear, and so probably not that dangerous fight, but it certainly is slow. He has, like, he feels like wet tissue paper when you have big damage, but if you don't have any nail upgrades and you're relying on VS, it can take a while.
Yeah, and that Dreamgate sort of helpfully placed right before the Trader Lord fight as a safety mechanism, but neither player with any essence, I don't believe. So just sort of a slight taunt on your way into the boss.
Have we even seen an essence check?
No, neither player's been to resting grounds at all.
Yeah. Definitely not something Paum should be doing at this point. He should just be finishing. But if you have homothety, it's probably worth considering, just because it's a lot of checks. Cloth coming in with the assist there for homothety.
Homothety already taken some damage on the early Mantis traders here.
Yeah, I mean, hot take, those traders are actually the real boss. Trader Lord's like a cutscene in comparison.
Yeah, Trader Lord notably having to be buffed a couple of times, if memory serves, just to make him a more threatening foe. His worst attack by far is still the casually walking into you attack.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, prior to, I want to say, Lifeblood, he was literally just a larger Mantis trader, so there wasn't really much challenge posed by it, especially because it meant that his jump was super easy to just walk under and shriek.
And as we say that, homothety taking a death.
Showing off that Trader Lord is that little bit harder on current patch, and unfortunately taking a death, but he's probably got it in round 2, as long as he doesn't get bullied by the traders at the start.
So we'll give Paum all the space and time he needs to...
Well, short speed dash from Paum, and Grimchild showing why he is one of the worst charms, and yeah, angrily smashing it.
Homothety's Grimchild simply can't hit things. Paum's Grimchild only hits things.
Oh, no, Grimchild has 100% accuracy as soon as you try and pogo something.
Alright, Cloth dropping in for Homothety one more time. We get round 2 of this fight. Homothety's still damage tanking those first traders.
Yeah, it's as long as you don't get hit now, it's fine. It's just that if Trader Lord catches you off guard once and you have 5 health, it's a huge chunk gone.
Yeah, this is certainly, I mean, everyone cracks the jokes about like massive Moss Charger basically turning Hollow Knight into a rhythm game, but as far as fights with some actual difficulty behind them go, Traitor Lord certainly feels like it's one of the most rhythm-based fights. Either you get into a good pattern with the boss, or he just walks all over you.
Traitor Lord's just spicy massive Moss Charger. Like, it's basically the same thing, a dash and a jump, and then a couple of projectiles that, if you're in its face, you probably don't see anyway.
Fortunately for homothety, it looks like the cliffs are pretty barren for Paum outside of the one goal.
Yeah, that said, homothety down to 1 health. There we go, there's the cutscene. I'm going to be checking progression egg here, aptly named because it's very easy to forget. And then every time you do forget it, Murphy's Law ensures that 100% of the time it is progression.
Just a seal this
time.
time.
A Halliday seal this time.
Yeah, most of the monikers for rando items have earned them because someone messed up in a run one time.
Yeah, very few things are named because someone's good at something. It tends to be named after them because they messed it up or forgot it. The prime example, of course, being Acrid Egg.
That's the egg in the rancid egg in Upper Kingdom's Edge, yes?
Yeah, yeah. And then about the only positively named one I can think of is Paum Relic, and that's the relic under Shroomlogas that Paum tells his teammate every time to check because everyone forgets it.
You're never... Who goes through Fungal with Claw and Dash, like on their first pass through Fungal?
Exactly. I mean, you only need Claw to check it.
Okay, sure. You technically only need Claw to check it. Heavy blow with the Dream Nail cutscene. That's incredible. We're getting our first Essence check. There's not much you can hope for at this point.
Yeah,
you got another dive.
High Essence, but again, we don't really care.
We've seen 4 Dreamers and 2 dashes and most of our movement.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I just really want to see Waterways set up for White Defender, even if you don't do it now, and pray you get a simple key.
Yeah, Homothety's still looking at 2 simple keys before he can get either of those goals. Paum only needing 1.
Oh, there's another one. Okay, so that's basically GG. We'll see a GG's Hut.
Speaking of GG.
And White Defender. Yeah, GG spelling GG for homothety. That said, if you're Paum right now, you're probably... Does he have a pale wall? Are they tracked on this? No. Well, assuming he has 1 pale wall, I definitely think 2 nail upgrades is the way to go, just because White Defender has a bajillion health and doesn't scale with nail upgrades, so it makes the fight significantly faster. Even with D-Dark, nail upgrades never hurt, especially because you can tend to get in its face pretty easily and just spam nail.
Yep, and so Paum is rushing right to the Dung Defender fight while Homothety picks up this journal. Nope, I lied. Just getting the bench, then gonna go open GG's Hut, it looks like. And homothety, both of the other dreamers, actually all three
yeah.
of the other dreamers were in pretty easily accessible places, if I'm not mistaken. It was like Willow and Leg Eater.
It looks like Paum is not gonna do Gigi's Hut, which is certainly a decision. Equipping Wayward Compass.
So getting to the White Defender fight first, I guess that makes sense. On the off chance homothety has the potential to do the White Defender fight. Obviously he doesn't, but Paum doesn't know that.
Yeah,
if you do,
Gigi's like one C-dash away.
If you do White Defender second, homothety can theoretically race you on it as soon as he sees that you mark open Gigi's Hut. If you do White Defender first and then homothety marks Gigi's Hut, you can just pivot to Millabelle and Pleasure House. So
yeah, but I mean, he's already set up with the Waterways bench, like.
And obviously Paum is so far ahead of homothety on White Defender, being, you know, 2 Dreamers and a whole bunch of damage ahead, that it will be a mostly academic question, but I think Paum's play is justifiable here.
Yeah, I mean, either's fine, and when you're up 11-8 and have a pretty clear-cut path to victory, you're probably just doing everything the most consistent. You know, it might not be optimal, but you're gonna get your 13 goals, and that's really just what matters. And yeah, if that fight's any indicator of what we're going to see with White Defender, this should be over pretty quickly.
Finding a convenient boulder killer, now he can get into Green Path.
Homothety doing everyone's favourite 3 checks behind Watcher Knights. He must have been in doubt, because when in doubt, Watcher Knights. Even when not in doubt, Watcher Knights.
But given how much we've seen in terms of progression and goals, I suspect there's like a real nice simple key at Lurian, this is going to be a wash for Homothety.
Yeah, there's not really much you can do from this point, just because Paum for quite a while has had just been like the first to everything, especially in that 10-minute period or whatever, from Edge right the way through to Crystal Peaks Dartmouth Elevator.
Yeah,
Knifed on so much stuff.
Unfortunate and surprising number of progression items were at goals on this board. There was a dash at the Sea Peaks chest, you had C dash at Shio. It let this snowball pretty heavily.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you had the random goal at Pale Lurker for Paum as well, which was really big. Paum, what you doing? There we go.
I'm just taking a minute to breathe in the middle of a fight.
Yeah. God, this fight takes forever. Like, Paum's doing a pretty good job of it. It's just like 7 business days.
Yeah, and at this pace, it looks like Homothety is going to make it to Legier and find the 3rd Dreamer just in time for Paum to mark this goal, because the spike tunnel in backwards was theoretically possible, even without any simple keys, to contest White Defender. But this is going to probably seal it up here in just a minute.
Yep, that is White Defender for Paum, and not even going to let the finishing cutscene play, never mind, he will. But yeah, so basically just a victory lap for Paum now as he opens, I assume, GG's Hut.
Shoutouts to when the goal used to be defeat double damage White Defender in the before times.
I have traumatic memories of the like 3-hour-long race for, I think it was the GDQ hotfix with that goal.
And that's going to be GG.
And that's GG. Really well played by Paum and homothety. Sort of Paum's routing, just letting him snipe homothety on a fair few things. But we'll hopefully get them in for a interview and we can... Yeah, so Paum, GG.
Alright.
Well played to both of you. Homothety, thoughts on getting sniped on about 4 goals straight between Edge all the way through to the Crystal Peaks elevator?
Did he follow me?
I mean, that was very disappointing and definitely decisive. I was less than 20 seconds behind on, all of those goals? Geo, elevator.
You followed me that whole way.
I did, yeah.
Oh, that's gross.
Yeah, it was really disappointing. I mean, I also got really tilted after that and died to Trader Lord and stuff, but after getting sniped 4 times in a row, it's sort of hard to see a path to victory.
How are you that close to me on Edge? Because you freed, like, Deepness Zote, so I'm like, okay, I have a ton of time to do Edge.
Well, you killed
He went straight there.
He also had an Ismas that you didn't have, so he
Yeah,
took
so
the
he
short
didn't
path.
have a path.
Okay.
There was an Ismas at the, I think it was the Dark Room Egg in Crystal Peaks.
Where was Shade Cloak?
It's a Crystal Peak chest.
Yeah, okay.
Well, really well played by both of you. I say that period of snipes in the middle was like a really big swing for Paum, but Rando giveth and Rando taketh away. Really well done. Sorry, what was that?
Buying Steady Body was like the worst decision I could have made.
Yeah,
the beginning
there were a
of
couple
that
of comments
scene.
about that. You just screwed yourself so hard on Geo.
I was
I
surprised you got 4,000 Geo as soon as you did. I couldn't find relics anywhere.
Shops, right?
I guess. Is
There was
that
one
what you did?
Arcane Egg at
I
shops.
think Sly had Arcane Egg and
I forgot
King's
the
Idol.
Arcane Egg then. I did not remember that.
Yeah.
Speaking of shops, Paum, how do you feel about forgetting that Distant Village Stag existed on your way to do Carefree Melody?
Oh, fuck off.
We were like, what's he doing? You spent so long farming Geo for this.
Bruh, that's painful. Dude, I was scared when I rode the Stag to Distant Village, because I'm like, if Distant Village Stag itself is progression, like, I have to do 4 more rounds of Great Husk.
Yeah, the seed really wanted you to kill that one Great Husk a bunch.
Oh, he died, yeah. That poor guy. Dude, I can't believe I forgot Distant Village Stag existed. Jesus. Showing off Dark Deepness.
Yeah, content. And that terrible arena.
Yeah, not a whole lot to... I've got the spoiler log up. Not a whole lot to say for this seed. We found most of the things. The shoutouts to the intended wings, which was in Crypt. You both found the dupe in Kingdom's Edge. Yeah, it looks like the intent was for you to get Mantis Claw, and then the next thing on the progression item list is Lumifly Lantern at Desolate Dive, which Homothety snagged. So the seed wanted you to run around wild places.
Yeah, Soul Sanctum was a huge waste of time. The only real worst thing I did was the Aspid Pogo to the camp bench. If I hadn't done that, I would have gotten 2 or 3 goals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think if
Both
you
of
just
you did that, Pogo.
if you just decided to do, like, you couldn't have known, but if you decided to do Pale Lurker instead of Deepness Zote, like, you just get 5 goals in a row or something.
Yeah, it was kind of insane to have
it's just-
all
it's also
in a row like that.
hard because if Homothety had decided to rush Colo or like Pale Lurker, he probably would have skipped Great Hopper Idol, which was Wings, and then you miss out on that like 2 or 3 goal chain. So
If you
I think
hard
it
rest
sort of
it.
just it was pretty unfortunate
Wait,
either
so-
way.
Did you find Compass Homothety, like, below Pale Lurker?
I did not. I did find Gathering Swarm 30 minutes too late. That
Oh,
was
so you
Shade
didn't-
Cloak.
You didn't follow me to Pale Lurker?
No, I quit out at the Coliseum bench. I was about a minute behind you when you marked Pale Lurker.
Oh, okay.
But I was
Yeah,
Yeah,
you just
I
walk
was
right up
seconds
for
behind you when you
Shio.
marked Shio in the elevator.
Oh, that's gross.
Yeah, so
Could you rush dash from the draft?
actually, what I really should have done is abandon the Coliseum bench because I probably would have had enough time then. But
Yeah, but you didn't know I was there.
yeah,
Yeah, plus you had the Colours out goal. There was. Oh yeah, both of you got dash super late.
But pretty much in sync. Like the only thing, Paum
Yeah.
had just about enough time to get the glowing womb spike tunnel, and then homothety had dash, and you were like neck and neck from then on.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
that was-
1 HP glowing wounds.
Yeah, we were like, what is he doing?
yeah, that was sort of another snipe. If I hadn't have spent so much time farming Geo for the map pins in a really inefficient way, I probably would have gotten 9 grubs sooner. But
Yeah, seeing you at 5 map pins was rough.
yeah, that was sort of a mistake. I never
Yeah.
really used the dream nail either, so
I think I commented at one point that if you'd remembered the arcane egg or something in shops, you could have got the relics and then done a lem trip, got the Stole Sanctum,
yeah,
and then you would have been in a better place geo-wise. But
yeah, if I had
sort
remembered,
of, if you forget the
relic,
egg,
I just
it's
would have
really
done
hard.
a chain of lem trips from that one bench.
Yeah, sort of given the information you had, like it's a lot easier to sit here as a commentator and say, oh, this is what he should have done, but given the information you had and not knowing where Paum was, I think it was played pretty well. Sort of, it can just be hard to gauge when you need to rush goals and when you need to, clear checks, because as soon as you rush goals, it feels like you miss, Wings a Great Hopper Relic or something, so...
Yeah, like for most of the seed, it was feeling like, oh, you have to find simple key, elegant key, love key for the end game of this, and then
Yeah,
in the end, those didn't actually matter because it just sort of turned on those movement items.
yeah.
C dash was really decisive. Let's
Yeah.
look at those other keys.
And just while you're finding that, the rancid egg at Shio Amosti was Shade Soul.
Oh, he skipped, dude.
Yeah,
That's
I
rough.
quit out at
Yeah.
Geo because of you marking that.
Oh,
So that probably made your Trader Lord fight a lot
dude, that was
harder.
that was the
longer.
worst possible timing for you. I can't believe I got the goals and the items. And dude, you got so unlucky.
Yeah, it felt
Yeah.
really bad at the moment.
Yeah, and
Oh, go ahead.
I have all the other keys, and they're in very cursed spots. But finish your thought first.
No, I want to know.
So elegant key was at Bretta, which like the first time either of you set foot into fungal was at like the 45-minute mark, not counting your way into deepness. Love key was at Pale or Nosk. Addition to the vanilla Pale Lurker key that we saw, there was another simple key at Joni's Blessing. And you got the one at Resting Ground Stag as well, Paum, and then the 4th simple key was at the chest in Weaver's Den.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I did not get a single simple key, so I was way behind Paum on that front.
I had 2 for a bit, but I'm like, I could go to Gigi's Hut now, but I'd rather just make sure I get White Defender than get either of the 2 simple key goals.
And also, I don't know if Locus is in the chat, but for what it is worth, the Abyss was by no means barren. The dupe Mantis Claw was at Voidheart, and the dupe Sea Dash was at Lifeblood Core.
And so
Sweetly
this useless.
Cursed. Also, Hermosity, you don't know how hard you baited Locus going into the C-Dash room and then putting out before underplat.
Yeah, I was really frustrated at that point because I had just felt like I got enough relics for 4,000 and then Paum had marked it, so I was sort of grasping for what to do, and I think that was when I went straight for the Deep Nest.
Yeah, and I mean, like, as soon as you get hit in that room and, like, you're off the right cycle, it's just fucked. So I think quitting out was definitely the right play. It was just unfortunately some unfortunate timings and that ended
The
up sealing it.
timings all went my way. Like, I also
Yeah.
got dive, and like I'm like, well, what can I do with dive? But I can do C-Peek's chest. And then right as I'm thinking that, you mark it, so I'm like, okay, I don't have to waste time.
I
I
assume you
remember
skipped
saying that.
Fury, right, Paum?
Say again?
I said I assume you skipped Fury.
Yeah.
I was planning on skipping Fury, and then I saw the card and thought, oh wow, it isn't random at all. I should check Fury so I don't miss out on progression.
I went
Kinda
back.
not- Yeah, so
Yeah.
I have
Paul
a figure,
messaged,
but
Paul messaged me before the race saying, hey, look, man, if Fury's something good, do me a favor and just give him 13.
Fury was not good. It
I
was,
know, dude.
There was a
You got
claw.
claw you got claw so far before me, homothety. Like so far.
Yeah, I guess the one thing that really did surprise me out of all of those types was Carefree Melody. I did not expect Paum to ever check that. So
Yeah, that
Where
was
was
some odd level
Go
play.
Mask
That
Shard.
was
Paul
so
went
much
back for it while you were mid Coliseum, and we were all calling him mod logging.
Oh
at that
yeah, because
point.
the reason I went for it is because I knew I didn't have the Hot Springs bench, so I'm like, okay, I'm literally never going to be closer than that now. And even as I was going, I'm like, this is kind of dumb. I could always come back from my later bench.
yeah,
Like,
I didn't have that bench either, but I checked that location right after I checked Grubs just to be safe, and that was my minion charm.
Yeah.
By
So-
the way, homothety, is
Yes.
Mark of Pride at 4 grubs a possible progression item, or is that not me?
It's hard.
It would be on hard logic, but not on
Yeah.
medium. It's
I
not a boulder
often
killer on
find
medium,
mine
and
is
3
hard.
grubs is your max on medium.
Yeah, I picked it up. Actually, because of the QG stag, it would have been 4 Grubs in Logic.
Oh, good point.
Yeah,
But,
I was so afraid that was necessary, and I'm like, please make that hard logic.
You found the VF though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that-
think
that
I
was
last
cool.
checked VS.
Okay.
Yeah, Palmer's a while behind on VS, which translated into like a fair while behind on Claw.
Yeah, I went
Yeah,
the wrong way to
Paul
claw.
did
too.
upper green pass first. as
I
well.
did try to hide Claw by delaying Maggot
Yeah,
for a minute.
that was a good hold.
That was good because you did it late enough that I'm like, the timing makes sense that he did lower green path for the Umas, and then upper got claw and did maggots, so I went upper first, which got me a charm notch, which was good.
Yeah, which was horrible for me because, that 6 charm notches.
Yeah. It feels like a lot of stuff just kind of blew up in your face, Homothety, but like I say, it's
insane.
kind of just the nature of
I mean,
rando.
that's rando. Like I think I had decent plans for everything, but you also have to not be as wasteful. Sometimes, I mean, sometimes those side checks pay off, and other times you end up just 20 seconds behind because of them and cursing every single one of them. Like I could have
Yeah.
done a much more efficient job in Crystal Peak and Kingdom's Edge, but that would require knowing that Wings is going to be right in the path.
Yeah, exactly. Like, sort of hindsight's 20/20, but you've sort of just got to do the best with the information available to you at the time.
I mean, like, you figure Homothety going to Deepness Zote gives him like 2 checks, and going to Kalo gives you like 3. If you just
Yeah,
move Wings
Edge
from
was
those
really
checks, if you move Wings from there to Deepness, like Homothety wins this like 13-6.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but
But
that's just the
GG.
nature of this format. So
Yeah, it is.
it's
Yeah.
been fun.
Yeah.
So
GG.
with that victory, Paum is going to advance to play the winner of Cake Sauce and our very own Insomnia in Losers Round 3.
What?
Yeah, this has been a crazy tournament so far, to say the least. Our next match on the schedule is Friday at 1 Eastern time. That's going to be Tamaster versus Purple Pyros. That's a lower bracket match. And I believe we're all in loser's side this week. So every match you see through the weekend is going to be with elimination on the line. So definitely stay tuned for that.
Yeah, should be a really good race. Definitely check the schedule and stuff and try and catch a few more of them, especially as we get towards the pointy end of the tournament. We're going to see some really close races and potentially some more upsets. There has been a lot of them this tournament, especially in the upper bracket. The highest seed in winner's side is 4, and then it goes all the way down to 9, 10, and 14 to give you an idea of just how basically upside down it's been. But yeah, it should be really good. And yeah, GG to both the runners, and we'll see you next time.
GG runners. Thanks, chat, for sticking with us.
Thanks for coming, guys.